Hey, and welcome to The Rebels, Chapter 8. I'm going to apologize in advance for all the changing lights because... Oh, maybe that'll hold. The windows and curtains are open, so... Yeah, the curtains are blowing around. It's a breezy day today, but it just feels too good to go and close the windows, so... enjoy the uneven light. Maybe just... not watch the screen. How's about that? Actually, I think I'd recommend that most of the time. Alright, Chapter 8. It was slow going. We were always expecting to run into the enemy around every bend. I wanted to scream in sheer frustration and terror at first. As the minutes dragged on, I was reminded of a lesson learned the night we ran away from Silverton. You can only be scared for so long before it just becomes a normal part of your day. You start to ignore it. I hadn't believed the books that I'd love to read would be so accurate when they said that soldiering was 9 parts boredom and waiting and 1 part danger and shit your pants. We were living the boredom stage now, and I decided to try enjoying it while it lasted. It lasted maybe 40 minutes before Jolly tapped my leg, signaling he'd heard something. I rapped on the cab, and Acelia quickly found a lot to pull into and a building to hide behind. 2 months ago, this place had been a thriving plant nursery, judging by the sign. "What is it?" I asked Jolly. Sonya and Acelia climbed out, leaning on their doors to listen. "Don't know exactly. Sounds like machinery, trucks, heavy equipment. I'm not really sure, just that something's up ahead." Awesome. "Son, you're usually out this way on your route, right?" Sonya, the chartered bus driver, nodded. "We're maybe a mile from Salem now. The ground is..." She hesitated, then burst out with, "I don't remember what it's like. I've never had to know before, so I never paid attention." "Trees," Acelia said, looking up from the map she'd taken from the cab. "It's colored green, so it should be trees." "Oh, good." I stared at the ground, sky, trees, anything except the 4 pairs of eyes watching me so carefully. I wanted to snap at them to look at something else. Lose my temper. Maybe freak out. Actually, freaking out sounded better all the time. A bit of a favorite novel decided to skid across my mind, reminding me that the best thing I could do right now is look and sound confident. Apparently it inspires hope in the troops. I sighed. Here goes nothing. "Acelia, you and Jolly take the dogs and hole up in that trailer park we passed not too long ago. Keep quiet, stay hidden. We may need a fast way out of here, and we're relying on you to not get caught. You know how long to wait." 5 days. We'd decided they should only wait 5 days. I hoped it gave us enough time. Acelia's eyes were huge and terrified, but she nodded resolutely. Bless the child. "The rest of us are checking Salem out," I continued. "We'll be back by the deadline. I hope. Unless shit hits the fan, in which case we won't. So, don't worry, okay?" "Right. So either you'll make it or you won't, so don't worry about it?" Acelia snapped, eyes sparking. "How is that supposed to be reassuring?" "Well, there's only 2 possible outcomes," Sonya said reasonably. "Oh, hell with it. There's not much you can do about it," is what she's trying to say. Badly. Acelia's mouth opened and closed, and I could see a dozen arguments racing through her head, but in the end, she nodded, still glaring. Alex was about to grab her pack out of the cab when Sonya reached out and stopped her. "We should leave our packs behind," she said quietly. "What? Why? All our food is in there," Alex protested. "Because," I answered, "we don't want to stand out in there. Our only defense is blending in, and right now, I doubt people are running around with nice bags full of useful stuff. If even half of what we suspect has happened in there, people will turn us in or kill us just to get a bit extra. I ain't taking that shit, thank you very much. You really think Americans would turn against us? Alex was aghast. I think that when people are starving, they're unpredictable. And while I'd like to feed them, we don't have enough. The only ways we could possibly help is to either get them out or throw the North Koreans out. So fill your pockets. What we take will have to last us. Ah! So much fucking work! Alex threw her hands in the air. Fine! Me and Sonya just grinned at each other and opened our jackets. One thing I absolutely love about the gear left in the bunker. There are these utility belts and they have pouches. Big enough to fit a few MREs, the pouches are out of the way and easy to cover with a loose jacket. There's also a holder with a flap and buckle for a water flask. We looked a bit bulky, but it was easy to explain away with the cold weather, if anybody got curious enough to ask. Alex even went so far as to tape granola bars to her legs. Jolly. I love that kid. Spun away the moment her hands went to her belt buckle, the boy's cheeks darkening with a blush. After she finished, the woman offered the tape to me and Sonya. Ah, thanks, but I'll pass, I said, waving the tape away. I've got some things there already. The food will just get in the way. The others gave me quizzical looks, but Alex just shrugged and held the tape out to Son, who also declined and didn't bother to give a reason why. Jolly gave us a clownish, crestfallen look when I said I wouldn't be exposing my legs, completely forgetting his earlier blush. No, Jolly, I said, sighing in exasperation. I will not pull down my pants in front of you. He shot me a quick sideways grin and I laughed, ruffling his hair affectionately. The little bugger never stopped making jokes, it seemed. He'd have women throwing their underwear at him in a few years if he kept this up. If he survives. Damn, damn, damn! Unless I constantly policed them, these cheerful little thoughts just keep popping up. I shook my head to banish them and motioned for Sonya to lead the way into Salem. I leaned out from behind my tree, watching and counting under my breath. It wasn't as hard to see as I'd have liked, with a mostly full moon peeking between the clouds racing high overhead. Stupid moon looked like it'd be sticking around all night, so we'd voted and decided to go for it anyway. It turned out our entry to Salem was blocked by a guarded gate at the road and a damn big fence everywhere else. Okay, so it wasn't the best built fence I'd ever seen, though it stretched to either side for more than a mile in this area, and was more than 7 feet high, with coils of barbed wire guarding the top. We'd followed the fence to the south until we found our way in. The builders left a small gap at the base of the fence, and water runoff from the fall rains had worn a tiny gully, barely visible as a darker patch of ground against the fallen leaves drifted against the fence, but our best way in. I smiled into the dark. Were we up against soldiers? Yes. Were they good at terrifying people? Also yes. But the fact that their fence-building skills were so damn bad gave me hope. No, the fence didn't worry me overly. What had me watching and counting were the regular patrols. At our best count, they showed up every 5 minutes. Almost on cue, 2 more soldiers came marching through, walking from north to south. This was the 4th patrol we'd seen, with no variation in timing, the size of the patrol, or the route taken. This time, as soon as they passed out of sight, I waved, signaling Alex and Sonya. They raced past me, running across the narrow piece of cleared ground, and I lunged to my feet, following at a sprint. Alex aimed for the gap at a headlong dive, sliding and squirming on her belly while me and Sonya helped her get through, counting all the while. Then came Son's turn. 2 more minutes, I hissed, straining, holding the fence up. I didn't even wait for Sonya's boots to clear the fence before I ducked down, wriggling through after her. Then I was inside the fence. Alex already headed for the cover of the trees when Sonya threw out a hand. "We have to cover it back up," she whispered, panting with fear and adrenaline. I dropped to my knees and started tossing blown leaves back at the fence, hoping to make it look natural, while Sonya kicked drifts my way and carefully straightened the grass. "No more time!" Alex hissed from behind us. "They're coming!" I lay in the bushes lining the cleared zone, panting into my sleeve and trying to muffle the sound of my breathing as we listened to the two-man patrol walk past our entry point. As soon as they were out of hearing, I dropped my head back, chest heaving as I tried to catch my breath. I heard gasping from Sonya somewhere to my left where she'd entered the bushes in a diving roll just seconds before the patrol appeared. "We all alive?" I whispered. I got a grunt from Son and a barely audible "yes" from Alex. Good. We're not dead yet. Did this mean we were winning? I rolled over and pushed to my feet. Let's get the hell out of here. This part of town sucks. In the early hours of the morning, I stumbled, barely catching myself before I fell. I giggled. Creeping through the forest in the middle of the night without causing a ruckus is exhilarating. And exhausting. Probably more fun than is good for me. I giggled again. Considering our current circumstances, enjoying dangerous situations is a perk. If I was to do stupid and risky shit anyway, I might as well have fun at it. A branch whipped across my cheek, chafed raw by the cold. A leaf brushed the corner of my eye and I winced, squinting and rubbing, wiping away involuntary tears. And that's the other side of nighttime forest walks. It wasn't even so much walking through the woods as finding the way by braille. Everything was more visible from the corners of my eyes, a series of lighter and darker shadows. We managed a slow, steady pace interspersed with curses. After a while, I heard Alex whisper, "Sonya, do you actually know where we're going?" No? Does it really matter at this point, so long as it's away from the fence? I guess not. Clouds had taken a firm hold of the sky, blocking all light. I pushed past a bush and stumbled into a cleared area with a row of houses stretching away to my left and right. Sonya leaned in and whispered, "Welcome to suburbia." "What now?" Alex muttered into the cold morning. The first thing I noticed, there behind the row of houses, was the stench. Seemed my earlier thoughts about the sewage system hadn't been far off the mark. I gagged and tried breathing through my mouth. When that didn't work, leaving me with a bad taste on my tongue, I went back to breathing through my nose slowly, trying to accustom myself to the smell. We huddled together in the cold, looking at the nearest house. The back wall had a gate cut into it, allowing the inhabitants to enter the forest to use it as a toilet, judging by the smell. "Haven't people ever heard of burying it?" Sonya whispered in disgust. Though it was still too dark to make out details, I knew her nose was wrinkled and her lip curled at people's lack of hygiene. I mean, for goodness sakes, we had an entire forest to use, since none of the bathrooms at the bunker worked, and we'd still gone and made some frigging composting toilets, which wasn't easy, let me tell you. We put them together from a bunch of half-remembered shit that Tony, Son's sister, had told us one evening years ago. These poor buggers didn't even have the sense to dig a hole and build an outhouse over it. Still, smelly as it all was, we could dither over that only so long. "I don't know," I said, exasperated in response to Alex's query. "Maybe we should knock on the damn door." "That's not the worst idea you've ever had," Alex told me. "Are you crazy? It's a terrible idea." "We came here to find shit out, didn't we? Easiest way is to talk to people." "I thought we were supposed to talk to your aunt," Sonya inquired. "Unless you want to run the risk of being turned in." Either somebody was already awake inside the house, or we were truly awful at being quiet, because our discussion came to an end when the back door of the nearest house opened. To say we were slightly spooked would be an understatement, with all our hands darting to various places on our persons, no doubt ready to shoot that poor bastard down at the first sign of trouble. The man, it was a man, his posture and the slight shine on his balding head revealed that, didn't see us, instead easing down onto the back stoop, elbows resting on his knees, and put his head in his hands. Releasing the hand gun I'd been prepared to whip out, I motioned for the others to stay and walked towards the man. Hands held out at my sides, making no effort to conceal my approach. Something about his dejected posture made me think he probably wouldn't try to kill us. At the very least, Alex and Sonya had my back, and Alex wasn't wrong. Talking to people would be the best way to get information. When I stopped barely 2 yards away and he still hadn't noticed me, I cleared my throat, politely. I think I startled him. He reared up violently, slamming his back against the door frame, eyes bulging out wildly as he attempted to shout. I hurriedly took 2 giant steps back, holding my hands over my head, absurdly grateful he'd winded himself and could only croak, unable to shout down a guard or police force or whatever they had running this joint. "Easy, easy," I said, trying to calm him down, patting the air above my head uselessly. Belatedly, I remembered the scarf covering my face and used a couple fingers to pull it down, exposing my nose to the cold air. "We're just your friendly neighborhood... Spider-Men?" I looked over my shoulder at the women and back at him. I really didn't think that through. Behind me, I clearly heard sniggers, but I kept my eyes on the frightened man in front. Being middle-aged, unshaven, balding, and gaunt didn't detract from the hardness in his expression as he looked at us in the pre-dawn light. "You okay now?" I asked, lowering my hands and bending down to look him in the eye. He nodded, still staring. "My name's..." "Don't tell me," he interrupted hoarsely. "I don't want to know. It's safer not knowing." Okay?" "Can't tell what you don't know. Remember that," he whispered. "It might save your life one day." I stood there, turning over the implications of that statement, the small hairs on the back of my neck standing up when the other 2 moseyed over, in as non-threatening a fashion as they could manage. "Can we ask you a few questions?" I asked eventually. "Not here. Closer to the trees. Don't want to wake anybody." He suited actions to words and led the way out of the yard to the trees we'd so recently vacated. "What's actually happening here?" I asked. "Why didn't anybody bother digging a hole?" Sonya interjected. "Guess those 2 questions tied together," the man reflected. "Before I start, answer one question. Who sent you? The government? The army? Who?" Us?" I shrugged helplessly. "We haven't seen anybody from outside. Sorry." The man sighed heavily, shoulders sagging a bit more. "Damn. Anyway," he continued with a fatalism that hurt to see, "we're from 3 sisters. Brought here 6, 8 weeks ago. Get fed just enough to keep us alive, not enough to fill us up. As you can smell, the sewer's shot to hell. Disease kicked up after we'd been here maybe 2 weeks. So many people fell sick, hardly had anyone healthy enough to dig a hole. Now the ground's froze, and people have been dying since day 1. He paused to swallow, his Adam's apple bobbing violently. "I've lost 1 daughter. I just stepped outside for a break. My wife can't even walk, though we think she may recover. There's about half the people in that house as there was when it all started." "Fuck," I whispered, staring at the man. It was worse than I'd thought. I heard Alex sniff. My own eyes stung with tears and cold. "Carts go by every day collecting the bodies," the man continued. He sounded as if he was talking to himself, needing to get everything off his chest. "And if the police aren't taking the dead, then the goddamn North Koreans' pet Americans are taking the living for questioning. Or punishment." "What do you mean?" "Girl living a couple houses down was taken from her family just 4 days ago. Excuse is that her dad isn't working as hard as he could. Bastards have got us building the damn fence. But they'll take any girl they think is pretty." Alex's head jerked up. "What happens to them?" "Rumor mill has it a girl escaped, made it away. Briefly. We heard the girls are marked, then turned into prostitutes. Some bullshit propaganda about mixing the two cultures and races, making it easier for us to accept them since they're fathering the next generation. Sick way to describe rape, if you ask me. I sagged against a tree, breathing heavily. Well, there goes burying my emotions. Fuck that, apparently. Alex's face was suffused with rage, tears running down her cheeks. And Sonya leaned forward, hands braced on her knees, looking about to puke. On the one hand, I was sorry to know the truth. We'd felt a bit obligated to do something before, maybe bomb a building, burn some shit. Lightweight terrorism. But this level of abuse. The other hand meant we now had to take action. We're doing something about that. Alex made it a statement. Yeah, but not here, not where he can hear, I said. I needed time to think. I needed more guns. From the house came the sound of a thump and the man's head cocked. I need to go. Somebody's up. Without a backward glance, he turned and disappeared into the house, shutting the door firmly behind him. That was weird. I stared after the man, nonplussed. Time we find your auntie, Sonya told Alex as we walked back into the trees. If she's still alive. Alex's expression was haunted. All right, that's the end of Chapter 8. Thanks for joining me. Have a great one, and I'll see you next time. If you enjoyed this or you want to follow for more information, stay up to date, by all means, subscribe to the channel, and there should be a link somewhere in here where you can follow my newsletter and all that fun stuff.